This time, we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. What are integers again?
Integers are whole numbers and their opposites. So the counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as well as their opposites, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as well as 0. So just no fractions and decimals.
No fractions and decimals. My students are going to love that. So, we're just doing positives and negatives. What are some of the rules we have to remember?
Well, one rule that you need to remember is when you are adding and subtracting integers, it's good to help to use a number line. That's what I like to tell my students. 0. So if I was doing 3 minus 6, 3 would be over here. If I'm subtracting 6, that means I'm going to be going 6 places to the left. So I would start here at 3 and go 6 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what number is that? Well, it's 3 to the left of 0, so that would be negative 3.
That's really cool, because that's something easy they can easily do on a test. What I sometimes like to do is draw a picture. I got 3 positives, and I got 6 negatives. Because this is actually a negative 6 right here. So I got 3 positives and 3 negatives. I teach my students that a positive and negative can cancel out. So cancel, 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 cancel. Once again, just like you, I ended up with negative 3. The last thing my students really love doing with me is singing the song. I'm trying to teach my 2-year-old son how to sing the song. He's not quite catching on. Do you know the song?
I don't know the song. Let's hear it.
Alright, same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. Take the sign the larger number, then you'll be exact. So what that means is that if you have the same signs of the numbers and you're adding, you just keep the sign the same. But if you are subtracting, if there's different signs, then we have to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So we'll get to the example for that in just a minute. What's a rule that we have to remember for multiplying and dividing?
When we're multiplying and dividing, what I like to do is I like to use a guy called Madman. He looks like this.
Why is he mad?
He's mad because MAD stands for multiplying and dividing. And the way Madman works is if you're multiplying or dividing 2 numbers, for example, negative 3 times negative 7, I'm looking at these 2 signs. If they're both negative, I'm going to cross off my 2 negatives. That means the answer is going to be positive. So 3 times 7 is 21.
Awesome, awesome. Alright, well, let's take a look at what the bomb has in store. The bomb has 3 problems for us this time.
Hope we get them all right.
Negative 4 plus negative 7.
Negative 4 plus negative 7.
Alright, you do what you would do, and then I would do what I would do.
If I were doing this problem, if I were telling my students how to do this, I would tell them what you told them. Same signs, I'm going to add and keep. So here I've got the same signs, negative, negative. That means I'm going to look at their absolute values, which means I ignore any negative signs that are in front of the numbers. I've got a 4 and a 7. I'm going to add those together. That's 11. So I'm going to add those together and keep the sign. Since both of these are negative, my answer will be negative.
Awesome. Well, I think I might agree because I'm going to have 4 negatives with this number, and I'm going to have 7 negatives with this number. And if I have, and I'm going to count now because there's no canceling, they're all negative. I'm going to count, I end up having 11 negatives. Alright, so our answer number 1, I think we agree, is negative 11.
Yes.
Alright, the next problem the bomb gave us is 9 minus 14.
9 minus 14. Now let me ask you something, Mr. Ralph. If you had $9, would you be able to give me $14?
I wouldn't because I only had 9. I'd have to owe you something.
You would be in debt, which means you would have negative money. So that tells me that the answer to this, right off the bat, I know is going to be negative.
Okay. Well, I know that when I'm subtracting, I need to think about that it's the opposite of adding the inverse.
Okay, so to subtract, I'm going to add the opposite. So I'm going to keep this 9 the same. I'm going to change this minus sign to a plus sign and change this positive 14 to negative 14. Now the rules you were telling us a minute ago told us that when the signs were the same, we were going to add the absolute values and keep the sign. But when the signs are different, like they are here, I've got a positive and a negative, the signs are different, I have to subtract the absolute values, and then I keep the sign of the one with the greater absolute value. So my absolute values are 14 and 9. I'll go ahead and subtract those. 14 minus 9 is 5. Now, we talked about a minute ago that we know our answer is going to be negative because you're going to go into debt with that money, but also the one with the greater absolute value is the 14. 14 is greater than 9. The 14 is negative, so that means that the answer will have to be negative.
Hey, you know what? I really agree with that. I could even draw my positives and negatives to show the example, but like he said, I know that 14 is bigger and there's more negative 14s than there are positive 9s. So I'm going to stick with a negative 5 as my answer also. Alright, so our last problem is multiplication. Now, I remember us talking about it. When we do multiplication, we use Madman. Madman has 2 negative i's and 1 positive. So we have 14 times negative 3. Okay? So as you see there's a positive and a negative, so those are the ones that I'm going to circle or cross out. 14 times a negative 3 is going to be a negative answer. Now, you may have this memorized, but some people might not. So in case you don't have a math fact memorized, always work it out in your paper. 14 times 3. 3 times 4 is 2, or 12, excuse me, carry the 1 up. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So I think the answer is negative 42. Notice when I showed my work, I didn't worry about the negatives at all, because I know the answer is going to be negative according to Madman.
I like it. Sounds good to me.
Alright, so we know the answer is going to be negative 42. So there's our 3 answers. Let's put them in the bomb and see if it works. Alright, I hope this works.
Let's check it out. All right.
You got another one right.